Moving from the MAC to the ACC, we have Virginia on the road at number 11 Louisville. Little peek behind the curtain. These are some fresh dropped college football playoff rankings. So the newly minted number 11 Louisville Cardinals, they are 20-point home favorites. Sorry, guys, we're not starting off with a couple of nail-biting close games. This game carries an over-under 50.5 points, though, so maybe a little bit more scoring. Kicks off Thursday night at 7:30 p.m. Eastern on ESPN's main network. Tony Muskett, the quarterback for Virginia, if you are unaware, left last week's loss to Georgia Tech. He's day-to-day. I can't find one way or another this early in the week, even though they only play in a couple of days, whether or not he's going to play. But the team, this is key, the team had to burn Anthony Calandre's red shirt last week. That means, I don't know, man, I'd probably put him back in. He at least gives you the higher ceiling. You're bowl ineligible. You're not going to do anything in the ACC. The best you can do is get experience for your guys upcoming, knock off a couple of teams, and just end the year on a high note. I think Anthony Calandre gives you the best opportunity at that. When he plays well, he's the better option by far. But he's extremely erratic. That's what makes him so fun to watch. And he'll turn the ball over at the least opportune times. That's just the Calandre experience. But as a fan of fun football, I do hope I see Calandre back out there. Louisville's defense, really dang good this year, especially in the red zone, and they're really good at forcing turnovers. They're third in quality possessions allowed per game, fourth in red zone defense. So it could get really ugly for Virginia, honestly, no matter who starts back there. For the Who's running back Mike Hollins, he has 7 touchdowns and just 68 rush attempts this year. Really efficient, really good. He is on track to play after suffering a neck injury. This is the last man in college football that needs an injury, considering he was the survivor of that horrific shooting that happened at Virginia last year. Doesn't need any injuries, but he is on track to play, so that's good news. On the other side, Louisville, they're dealing with their own injuries. Jamari Thrash, top corner Jarvis Brownlee, they sat out last week. Jawar Jordan was a bit limited. He was a game-time decision last week. Jordan is trending toward playing. I could not find an update on Thrasher Brownlee yet. That is definitely worth monitoring. It didn't matter that they didn't have either of these guys last week. Louisville came out and just took it to Virginia Tech 34-3. Louisville has a travel advantage. Maybe not necessarily a rest advantage in the traditional sense, but I do view this as a bit of a rest advantage. They played their last 3 games at home, including this one, and Virginia's played on the road in 2 of their last 3, and now this one again. So 3 of their last 4 it'll be. That is something worth noting, I think.
Yeah, Louisville's a team we've talked about all year, Brett. They only played
Yes.
three true road games the entire regular season. That's the fewest in all of FBS. They had 2 neutral site games to go with that. They only play 1 road game in a college football stadium this year because 2 of their games at Pitt and at Miami, Florida, this NFL stadiums, the only true road game they played at a college football stadium was at NC State back in week 5. So you touched on a few things there, Brett, and the thing that sticks out to me is when you're talking about Virginia and really any team who you said, they're bowl ineligible at this point. They've already lost more games than they're going to be able to get to bowl eligibility with 6 wins. What are they going to do? And what is there to play for? And you said, well, getting the experience and trying to knock off some teams. Like, I couldn't agree more. Getting the experience, absolutely. But when you're in this position, your Super Bowl is anytime you're playing a team that's, ranked. And this week they've got a team in Louisville who's ranked, and you have an opportunity to ruin their season. And I understand this isn't like the biggest rival that Virginia has. It always feels better when you do it to your rival. I always think back to the 2007 backyard brawl between Pitt and West Virginia, where Pitt ruins West Virginia's BCS national championship game hopes and on the last game of the regular season when they really had nothing to play for other than that. But for Virginia, they've done this already once this year at North Carolina in a game that no one gave them a chance, including my numbers in Vegas and everything else. So we've seen this before. Virginia can do it. My numbers don't suggest they will, but that's what they have to play for. And teams like that can be dangerous, especially when you're introducing new players into the mix who have a lot to prove. This game has a watchability score of 5.3, Brett. I have Louisville minus 21. It's a 93% win expectancy. But again, the Virginia-UNC game, I had a 96% win expectancy for North Carolina, and Virginia showed me what they think of that. So Florida State has secured its spot in the ACC championship game. Louisville is looking every bit like the team that will face the Seminoles. They have an 82% chance to make it to Charlotte currently. The Cardinals have a top 25 offense. Their defense right now is a season best number 14. That's the best opposing defense Virginia will face all year by my current numbers. Virginia's had such an interesting season, and I touched on it a little bit. They start 0-5, But 4 of those 5 games were decided by a field goal. Then the Hoos beat FCS William and Mary. They pull off one of the upsets of the season at North Carolina, as I talked about. An overtime loss at Miami the next week still showed encouraging signs there. But then the wheels fell off a little bit last week against Georgia Tech. So that momentum that they built, being close against NC State, against Boston College, winning against FCS, winning at North Carolina, have they lost that? I don't know. Can they get it back? Possibly. But there's so much on the line for Louisville in this game. I just don't see how Louisville can pull off a letdown. Like, I don't see them having a letdown game here, even if Virginia does play up to the level they played against North Carolina. Louisville, with everything in front of them, it's right there. I just don't think they're going to have a letdown in this spot. I just don't see it. Bottom line, Louisville minus 21, 7% chance that Virginia knots up the all-time series, at 6 apiece in this one.
Yeah, I'm with you. A team with nothing to play for that has some high-end players that are just looking to headhunt. I mean, Louisville's probably the last ranked opponent they'll play. They have Duke and Virginia Tech left on the slate. But, that makes them dangerous. But also when you have a good football team that already had their letdown, that's in a spot to just win out and make the ACC championship, your CFP hopes are probably still a little bit alive. Yeah, I can't imagine that they're going to fall asleep at the wheel. If you're looking at the total, in my opinion, no matter what position you take on, it's going to be frustrating as hell. You take the over, and then you watch Anthony Calandria turn the ball over like 6 times, and Virginia comes away with nothing and doesn't pull their weight, and Louisville's defense does what it's been doing all year. Then you take the under, and then Calandria just guns it downfield, like at halftime we're already staring down 35 points. You're like, oh, geez, come on. So give me a first half over if Calandria is the guy. That does sit at 26.5. I think he comes in, ignites a little bit of a spark in this team before, Louisville has time to make adjustments. I don't trust them game long, but in the first half to come out of the gate and play with a little bit of fire, sure. If Musket goes, I don't like laying numbers this big. I don't usually take minus 18, minus 20, whatever we're talking about, but it's Louisville or nothing for me. Virginia, I think, is getting a bit of a boost from upsetting North Carolina still off their bye. And they were coming off a bye, had the rest advantage. And then, look, on paper, they took Miami to overtime. That's great, but Miami is atrocious right now. Like, you have to treat them as one of the worst teams in the ACC, the way that they're playing on offense at this moment. So I'm not really that surprised by that result. Not as much as the North Carolina one. So just to summarize, if Calandria plays, first half over. If Musket goes, Louisville the points, I suppose, under 21.
If Duke beats North Carolina this week on the road, Duke would be, right now they're number 26, my most deserving. They'd be 7-3. They're going to be in my top 25. I think the committee will rank Duke next week if they win at North Carolina this week. I say that because Duke plays at Virginia in the next week. So Virginia could get back-to-back chances here at a ranked team. Not that that necessarily matters, but if you're looking for something to play for, that could be something.
Good note.